This interview is for information only and should not be considered as investment advice or a recommendation to buy shares in the company featured. Welcome to this Stock Box interview.
Joining us today is Jason Brewer, the CEO of Marula Mining, following the announcement of results from the company's Kinusi copper mine, where the company has received a final report on the Phase 1 drilling programme. Well, thank you. The Phase 1 exploration programme, not drilling. But thank you very much for joining us today, Jason. First of all, you look like you're in a slightly unusual place, not your Swiss office that we normally see. What's going on? You're about to play some football.
Yes, Mark, and it's great to be on here. It's a big day, obviously, for Marula shareholders with the release of this announcement. But this morning, I'm actually in Kibera, which is one of Africa's largest slum areas, just here in Nairobi, doing some work with Mayflower Children's Foundation, where we're putting on a series of sports programs for children, which are obviously coming from disadvantaged areas, giving them meals, food, talking health, and just generally getting down here and helping out where we can. So you'll have to excuse the fact that I'm not in the office and I'm not wearing a shirt or tie, but I'm actually out here, putting a bit back into the community here in Nairobi.
Okay, well, that's good. Obviously, we talked about Mayflower before, so it's nice to see you actually getting stuck in today. So good luck with the rest of the day and the activities planned. But let's talk about the news this morning from Kinusi. So you've confirmed the preliminary findings of the identification of copper mineralized corridor that you talked about, and observations by Geo Fields suggesting visible copper grades of up to 30%. Now, I mean, for people who know much about copper, I mean, anything over sort of 1% is considered pretty significant. So 30%, that's incredible, really. Can you put some more context into this 30%, but also the fact that it's a visual observation, not perhaps an assay result at the moment?
Sure. Look, I mean, one of the benefits of our Kinusi project, and it was what really drew me to it when I first visited it last year, you've got very shallow, high-grade mineralization. You can see it. And it's been the area of some small-scale, limited artisanal mining across maybe 30 small pits there. But you go there, you can see it. This is at surface. It's for our investors that have seen some of the images we put out on our platforms. It's bright green, it's bright blue. It's your malachite, it's your azurite. It's very high-grade copper. And for Geo Fields, who are a very experienced Tanzanian independent consultancy group, to spend time there mapping and sampling across all our licenses that make up that Kinusi copper project, it was very encouraging that they came back with these visual observations, which went all the way up to 30%. How representative that is, Mark, and assays will confirm this across the whole project area, then clearly, time will tell. But, if you look at some of their other findings and conclusions from their work, they're very positive about what we have there at Kinusi from a size of a deposit and a grade as well.
So this 30% visual, is that an experienced geologist effectively looking at it visually and saying, okay, I think just looking at this visually, there's probably 30% in here?
Absolutely. These are geologists that have done work. A lot of them are ex-Barrick, ex-Anglo, that have been working for tier one mining companies in Tanzania. Because remember, Tanzania has fast become one of Africa's most established mining jurisdictions, albeit predominantly for the gold, but there is a fair bit of base metals interest there, particularly up there around bullion, hoodoo and so on. So look, there is the experience in country, and they have reviewed and signed off on it to that respect. So it is confirming, I guess, what as well, the locals are already mining and selling. You've got local artisanal miners there, local cooperative groups that are selling copper at grades between 20, 30, and even over 40% once they've done the sorting of that ore. So it's good that we've had an experienced, competent geological group that are experienced in this area and with this style of geology to make these conclusions for us.
Okay. Now, I guess that 30% would be what you might call a standout grade, and you've got the assays coming fairly soon, I think, where we will get the definitive grade of what is actually there tested properly. But I guess the 30% would be a standout grade, and then you would have your perhaps more reasonable, let's say 1-2% copper.
Yes, I mean, in the report which we got from Geo Fields, they confirmed that there is the potential there for some very significant tonnages, and they came up with an average grade of over 5%. So, and that was both copper. They also referred to, excuse me, when they talk about Kinusi, they're talking about a copper, gold, and other base metals deposit. So clearly they're seeing some of the sulfide mineralization there, which demonstrates that there is perhaps other base metals associated. There's potentially more at depth, but there's more work to be done. There's no doubt about it. But the initial conclusions, well, these conclusions out of Geo Fields, both in terms of some of the grades and the potential to take what they consider an exploration target already of some 10 to 15 million tons to something far more significant and higher than that, is very encouraging for us, that's for sure.
Okay, so what comes next then? When are we expecting the assay results? I think you mentioned in the RNS September, so that's not very long away.
No, look, these are coming out in the next 2 weeks. We're chasing them up because, look, if there's one thing this Geo Fields report has told us, is that we've got a huge opportunity here and we've got to get moving on it. We've got to get moving in terms of doing further trenching, further sampling, but most importantly, actually starting that resource drilling program. So, as soon as we've got those assays, we'll be able to get a better understanding of some of those hotspots, how this copper grade mineralization is distributed across what they've confirmed as a copper mineralized corridor in excess of 1 kilometer, which remains open, and up to over 300 meters in width. So you've got a significant mineralization here at Kinusi. We now need to use the results of those assays, the results of the mapping work that Geo Fields have done, and really start doing that drilling program and that additional geochem, geophysics work, an integrated exploration plan to get this deposit confirmed, proven up, so that our investors and shareholders can really start in their minds to start to put some numbers to this. I think today's numbers, the initial numbers here, which they've come up with, gives people an idea, but we really do now need to prove these up. We need to confirm it, and we need to move very quickly to that next phase of work.
Okay, so proving up the numbers, of course, that's very important, but also understanding perhaps the geology and how potentially it's best to extract it. I noticed from the RNS that the copper showings were mostly observed in what you say steeply dipping pegmatite dikes. So as part of the next phase of work, is there going to be some more work to understand exactly how the deposit is formed and the best way to extract it?
Absolutely, and that's why over the past week, we've had one of our directors out of London, Richard Lloyd, who's a very competent exploration geologist. We've had representatives out of Q Global Commodities out of South Africa up on site. And they've essentially been going through and trying to get this better understanding of it, because it does appear to be quite a complex structure there in what is quite a significant area across 8 contiguous licenses. And then we've got the 2 separate licenses there. So, we need to get a better grip of this. That geophysics, that geochem, some of this additional work that we're now committing to, that's going to help us get a better understanding of these controls, the structural aspects of this geology, and give us that better understanding as we plan this drilling program in the near future. Okay,
and is that drilling program part of phase 2?
Absolutely. Okay. I think, I've already had feedback from the senior geologist there at Q Global. He's back in South Africa now, very impressed with what he saw. They actually took one of their senior mining guys there. So that demonstrates, I guess, to our investors, to myself, that there is that support for us as we move to that next phase of obviously processing the small scale mining, which we're doing, but also looking at moving to a much more larger scale operation there based upon doing this more detailed work.
Okay, so we've got assay results coming in the next week or 2, which we can look out for. And when are you looking to get stuck into phase 2? You mentioned not hanging about, you've got to press on.
Look, as soon as we've got those assays, and they're very, very close, as I've mentioned, as I've inferred, that gets incorporated into that bigger map. And from that, we then look at, how are we going to basically implement a drill program over this? But already we're looking at that geophys, geochem work to basically really start to give us an idea of what's on the ground. Over the past few days, whilst our guys have been up there as well, they've been visiting some of the neighboring small-scale operations and getting an indication from them as to their style of mineralization. And it's exactly the same as what we've got at Kinusi. So, it's a very widespread copper system here around Kinusi, and we're very excited about it, obviously, given the results and the findings here now out of Geo Fields.
Okay. Well, thank you very much for your time today, Jason. I can see there's lots of activity going on that you probably need to get stuck into in the background there, but I'm sure we'll be talking in the next week or two. But thank you very much for your time today.
Mark, thank you. And I appreciate the support that you and the team there give us all the time. So thanks again.
If you enjoyed this interview, then give us a thumbs up, a like or a retweet. Subscribe to us on YouTube or follow us on Twitter and hit that notification bell to be the first to know when we release new content. There's loads of great content on our website too, across all our programs at stockboxmedia.com. Thank you for watching.